Good afternoon. I am sure you are getting ready for your 4th of July celebrations. The stores are packed with people shopping today. Movie theaters are empty. We've been looking to go to a movie theater until I got caught on a 2 hour Zoom call on a project on remembering names and faces. We'll come back to that in a minute. But I hope you are getting ready and maybe using some time to have a little bit of fun looking at a memory game or two, remembering a list of items that you have, some fun stuff, maybe a bunch of phone numbers that you can all see who can remember the most. But there's lots of different memory games, and today I was on a 2 hour Zoom with some significant people talking about a project on how one can go about remembering names and faces. And if we did a study to prove that by learning different techniques and skills that impact your memory, that the skills are transformative, meaning that they actually will create some physiological changes in the brain, as well as transformative in that you'd be able to go from short term to long term with the skills, and therefore can make a difference in how you go about living day to day life. And then the third part is if you learn how to do one element of memory skills, names and faces, could you apply that to other skills? Maybe list of things, a list of words, a deck of cards, groups of numbers. I mean, it was a fascinating conversation with some of the country's top researchers going over a project that talks about how would you take people through remembering 10 names and faces, and would it be any different if you expanded that to 100? And then if we really wanted to get crazy, if we wanted to expand that to 500, what would you have to do? And could you add information about these 500 names, like their hobbies or their phone numbers or their primary interest? In the USA Memory Championship, we have a memory event called the Tea Party, but that's only 6 people. And for those 6 people, we talk about their name, obviously, their phone number, favorite foods, maybe a pet. If you're going to try to teach someone how to do this and you had to have 500, could you use the same systems that you use to remember 100 names? Now, we've had people in our USA Memory Championship get up to first name, second name over 200 points at 125 names and faces in 15 minutes, which is amazing. Just tremendous proof of the fact that there are ways of doing it, there are skills of doing it. And then if you randomly, so you lock in, obviously, quick technique. You look at a person's face and you lock on a significant feature. Now, you might not do my mustache, because I maybe someday after 60 years may want to shave it off. But maybe it's my nose, maybe it's a birthmark. You want to lock in that feature, and then you want to look at me. And remember, I go from Florida, Tony, to New York, like many of our immigrants did in the 1800s, early 1900s. They went to Tony. They would put to New York, my name is Tony, so it'd be easy thinking Tony goes to New York, Tony, as an immigrant. Okay, great. So I go to New York, and now my last name, you might want to look at my nose. Gestalt of the rest of the face helps someone to remember what their name was. And so an interesting conversation with a group of scientists that were just fascinating to talk about. Well, suppose you blocked out my eye, trying to get to my eye. Suppose we X'd out my eye, and on a rebound, you couldn't see my eye. Well, if you could still see my nose, that'd be all right. Suppose I wiped out my chin. Well, you still see my nose, it'd be all right. But suppose they X'd out and blocked off my nose, and I stuck this golf tee on the end of my nose. Would you look at my eyes and chins and other features of my face and remember, oh God, that's still Tony that goes to New York with dot on the T, even though that dot is underneath that block we put on. The second thing is, my goodness, now we want to maybe put some information around it. So Tony loves to play golf. He loves to take cruises. He loves to swim. Would you be able to remember some of those things, as well as maybe a phone number, an address, and maybe where he lives? And if you were to do that for 500 people, what kind of a memory system would you need to have inside someone's mind to be able to do that? And over what period of time would you need to give them to take the study time to put it into memory so that a month later it was still there? So it was a really complex conversation over a scientific study, which I'm very, very excited about. I think it's just absolutely fabulous that we have a major university willing to undertake a significant study in seeing the transformation of learning memory skills from short term to long term, and what that means to the person that is able to do it. And then can you teach that to other people? So if you created a memory system that enabled you to do something of that sort, what would that do to people's lives? Would that create some significant impact on being able to teach the system and the methods of getting people to make those transformative changes to memories of the people that were involved? In this case, it's a study. We have a person that is going to go through doing this. It's a 3-month study, so it's a matter of, okay, there's going to be some time to get the information together, determine what the scientific boundaries are about it, then provide it to the person that is going to have to consume this chunk of information. My gut chunk, it's a boulder of information. Then have the time to develop whatever the note-taking is of how this person is going to do this, put them into the appropriate technology machines to see, is there a physiological change that will take place to the brain that will feed other areas of memory inside the brain. And it's just such an exciting study. It backs up 30 years of work that I've done in teaching memory, studying memory, seeing the difference it makes on lives, to now have an official, or at least a grant of funds to be able to test it, which to me could be life-changing for people. Because as we are in the advent or in the stage of Alzheimer's and dementia, and people worrying about different elements of their mental capacities and cognitive impairments and things, the timing is right for people to want to focus on, well, gee, what more can I do? Can I take control over some of the diseases or impacts that may take place in my brain, which I never ever want to have diseased or hurt or harmed to where I can't remember people that love me or people that I love, and not be able to have a conversing conversation with them. So this is what I had the opportunity of spending a couple of hours on today. I thought initially it was going to be a 1-hour Zoom, but it turned into a 2-hour Zoom. It was with a lab class in a scientific study group, and it just turned out to be a whole lot of fun. And 2 hours, that kind of zipped by faster than I could keep track of it. And the next thing I know, it's time for me to do my live with Tony, and let me give you an update, real time, on a call that I had. Could be transformative in people's lives. And so stay tuned. Obviously, we keep you posted on that. The good news is I'm in New York, but I've had Michael Datino is forwarding some of my science reading in a priority mail envelope, which I am hoping to get by Saturday. And so I'll start pulling back my articles as I've stayed in New York a little bit longer than I was planning. And I wanted to get some of my science reading up here and begin to use some of that, as I have in my Live with Tony broadcast. So with that, stay tuned. check out our memory website. The 25th USA Memory Championship qualifying events are showing up on July the 28th. It's virtual. We'll take the top 12 people. We'll bring them to Florida for September 28th. And off we go at Full Sail University to host the 25th USA and crown our champion for the 25th time. So that's where we're at, and I hope all is well. And we will see you on Friday as we are now into the first week of July, which brings us to celebrate our independence tomorrow. Be safe, smart, no fireworks. Be safe.